Welcome to the Realty Rundown, the podcast that cuts through the noise of the real estate world. Your hosts, seasoned industry experts Nick and Nate, are here to guide you through the entire process. Each week, they're breaking down the latest market trends, decoding complex jargon, and sharing insider secrets you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're buying your first home, selling a property, or building an investment portfolio, we provide the clear, actionable advice you need to make your next move your best move.
All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 59 of the Realty Rundown from the Nick Wyse team at Remax Results. I am Nick Wyse.
And I'm Nathan Schwartz. Today we're talking about something a little different, how global conflicts can impact the housing market.
Yeah, it was not the plan to talk about this on today's episode.
Yep.
We got a different episode queued up, but we feel like it's probably pertinent to go ahead and cover world events since we are now in a world war. No, not a world war, but yeah.
Not yet.
It's crazy. It's crazy how many countries are already involved in this. And then I looked actually, Pakistan and like Afghanistan are at war with each other. And now they're like trying to draw India into that. I'm like, no.
Yeah. This is spilling over a little bit.
Not fun.
No.
But what happens to housing? So with current U.S. conflicts going on in Iran, this is creating obviously some uncertainty in the global markets. And a lot of people are asking, does war affect mortgage rates, home prices, buyer activity? And the short answer is yes. Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks for joining us here on the Realty Rundown.
That's right. See you guys.
We'll try and go into a little more detail.
Yeah, that's right. So when people hear about war overseas, they don't always think about housing. So how does this really affect the housing market?
Yeah, it definitely does affect it, but it's more indirectly, as the bombs are dropping, that's not, changing the housing market minute to minute. But war influences housing through a myriad of different things, such as mortgage rates. Banks do not like fear and uncertainty. They do not like the unknown, and that can sway mortgage rates. Inflation obviously is a big one that we're looking at here. Energy prices, especially when we're dealing with a major supplier of oil, such as Iran and the other Middle Eastern countries. And then consumer confidence, it's kind of self-explanatory, I guess, but people are concerned, what is going to happen, and that may cause some people to just pull back. Yep. And then you got stock market volatility as well. Savings are tied to stocks a lot of times, and so that can affect people's ability for a down payment. So while housing doesn't react to war itself, it reacts to the economic ripple effects of war.
Yeah. So we saw mortgage rates move slightly after the attack on Iran. Why does that happen? I should ask.
Yeah, it's really because mortgage rates closely follow the bond market. Without boring everybody to tears here in the first 3 minutes, we'll just kind of gloss over this, but U.S. Treasury yields can change when global uncertainty arises. Investors, they're going to move into safer assets. So Treasury demand is actually going to increase, which causes bond yields to sometimes drop. Yep. And that can push mortgage rates down, at least temporarily. However, war can also increase these inflationary risks, especially with energy prices expected to rise, and that can push rates back up. So the impact can move in both directions.
Yeah, so obviously, given the location of where the war is happening, it's probably okay to say that energy prices are a big part of this.
Yeah, it's huge. Iran is a big mover, and it's strategic. It's got the location as well as the oil itself. The region is very, very important here. So if this conflict disrupts supply, you're definitely going to see oil prices rise, or the potential for them to rise, which means gas prices rise, which means inflation increases because so many things are tied to logistics and transportation. And when inflation increases, the Federal Reserve tends to keep rates higher than longer, or even increase them overall, which in turn affects mortgage rates.
Yeah, so I actually saw a recent article from Business Wire that says house hunters are sitting on the sidelines. So I'm assuming uncertainty causes this?
Yeah, kind of we were talking about that consumer sentiment. People are going to hesitate when these markets feel unstable, headlines make them uncertain, and then economic forecasts can change so drastically. It's crazy, actually. I was just talking to somebody else. We were all talking about it was actually the Yoders. And I was talking to them about, how everybody was focused on the skirmishes in Mexico, and then like, boom, we're bombing Iran, and everybody just totally forgets about that.
Yep.
Just talks about how fundamentals can change so fast. The fundamentals of housing haven't necessarily changed at all, but conflicts can temporarily slow demand because, well, homes are not any worse investment than they were 5 days ago.
Right.
People still dislike the uncertainty. Me and you, we're both planners. I hate uncertainty.
Yep, same.
We like to
Same
know what's
here.
going on, and that's pretty typical. I think people want to know what's going on, and any changes can affect buyers' willingness to enter the market.
Yeah, so a little bit of a, I guess, broader picture. Historically speaking, do wars crash the housing market, or can they?
We don't see that historically. I guess we've got plenty of examples. Unfortunately, we've got the Gulf War, the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War. There's a lot of recent wars to draw from on this, but housing markets typically move, more based on interest rates, the supply and demand, and job growth, not the conflict itself. So again, sometimes while wars push mortgage rates lower due to investor flight to safety, it's kind of an outlet. It's not direct in that way.
Yeah. So should buyers panic about global headlines?
No, I don't think so at all. In fact, no, they shouldn't. Housing decisions should be based on your timeline, your finances, and your local inventory, not on international headlines of which we have no control. So again, global rates, they can nudge those mortgage rates, but they rarely change the long-term fundamentals of owning a home.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's the same way here for a local market as well.
Yeah, same thing. Elkhart County still depends on, local employment staying strong, which means the RV manufacturing industry stays strong. Interest rates are going to be pivotal. Watching what they do, they've been trickling down, and we're sitting here cheering that on, like, yes.
Yep.
Inflation could turn that right on its head. So interest rates are a really big one to watch. And then housing inventory overall. Are people going to climb back up and pull their houses back on the market and just stay put? That can have a big effect here locally. So the global events may influence rates, but local supply and demand is really still what's going to drive pricing here in Elkhart County.
Yeah. So the big takeaway: global events can create uncertainty, but housing decisions are still personal decisions. And if I can add in there, don't let the national headlines scare you away from your goals. I'm very much the type of guy. If you got goals in mind, stick to it. It's going to be okay.
You got it, man. It's personal. You buying a house matters to you. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter to those who are maybe making some of these decisions. They're thinking about whatever they're thinking about. That's for another episode on a completely different podcast. We're not going to get into that. The key thing is that fundamentals still matter the most. Your local demographics matter more than anything in the national news, certainly at this time when things are so fresh. So, all right, guys, wanted to keep this one short. We went a little longer last episode. We did that. We accomplished that. Not too far off track. Want to appreciate everybody tuning in. This is sensitive subject matter, guys, but I hope it gives you some peace of mind. If you are thinking about buying or selling or making a move, you're okay to do so. The skirmishes in the Middle East should not affect your ability to buy a home. So
agreed.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. Episode 59 of the Realty Rundown. As always, if you do have questions, of course, you can reach out. You're going to get Wyse replies. Nick knows.
And Nate knows.
That's right. All right, guys. We'll get you Wyse replies. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
See you guys.
And that's a wrap on another episode. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had as much fun as we did. We love sharing real estate insights, but as you can see, we also love to have a good time. This energy and passion is what we bring to every client. Buying or selling a home is a huge deal, but it doesn't have to be stressful. With the right team, it can even be fun. Ready to make your move? Let's connect.